How do you think Missions Fest helped to shape the understanding of missions for churches here in the Lower Mainland?
Yeah, the idea was, let's be aware of the world that's unreached. That's how it started. There is a large world that's unreached, and we need to do something about it. And the 1040 window and many other parts of the world that were unreached. And then it started expanding through different leaders at Mission Central towards a missional discipleship or a missionary discipleship, which means, yes, we may be called by God to jump on a plane to insert ourselves in a different culture, but how do we also disciple? And again, discipleship needs to be defined, I think, in every generation. We, of course, have what it means in the Bible, but I think every generation needs to grapple with what does it mean to be a disciple of Jesus in this generation.
Let's talk a little bit more about that weekend, Missions Fest weekend. What was always the most memorable part for you? What did you look forward to the most?
For me, the fact that so many volunteers rallied to make it happen was always breathtaking. To see I remember when I first started working, I didn't know about a mission conference. And in my previous background, I thought mission conferences were cheesy. So when I signed up
Wait. Why did you think they were cheesy?
I thought because I had this stereotype that people just go for the free goods, pens and stuff, and then you hear speakers that you've always heard about or bands that are like, meh. But my first conference, I remember when you come into the convention center and it's empty, and after one night, you get all these booths set up, and in a matter of 8 hours, this becomes a monster machinery. And that is like with over 800 volunteers that they somehow all came like an army of ants to build this welcoming space for people to meet after 10 years or from just last year. And just to see how this army of working ants would come and build everything and make it happen. And you see thousands of people coming, children, elderly people. It was just a foretaste of the kingdom. You see people gathering from all ages, literally all ages, from different cultures, and it's just a foretaste of the kingdom. So that sense of gathering, the shepherd of the world, God himself and Jesus is gathering his people towards him. Well, it was delightful. That was unbelievable, just unbelievable every year. And as one of our board members said, it's like walking on water. Financially, on volunteers, every year you are depending on God's provision because you're not sure if financially we can make it sometimes, or if we're going to have enough volunteers for all these different programs for kids. And so trying to be on a weekend the church that welcomes the children, the older people, the younger people, those who like this type of worship, those who prefer this other type of worship, and trying to harmonize all that every year was a challenge and then a joy. There were many hiccups on weekends, but that gathering of people was very amazing, especially the volunteers.
What were some of the challenges of being a multi-generational conference?
I think expectations and an accommodation. I think an older generation always hopes for the younger generation to welcome Christ and all that, but sometimes that means music at a level that you are not comfortable, either because it's too loud or it has a beat that is not, in your perspective, God honoring. So it's this difference of expectations and preferences on how do we accommodate each other in our own lived experience of Jesus. How do I acknowledge that you are 60 years older than me and you love to sing this way, or you like these choirs, and I am 19 and that doesn't do it for me, so I need more Hillsongs type of music. And so I think accommodating expectations and that hospitality towards the expectations and how to harmonize that in the spirit. Yeah, and all that happened around these volunteer coordinators meetings, right, where they're planning the content and yeah.
I know you said that you were very surprised at the number of volunteers that came together over the course of the weekend, but there were also a number of people who just came out, you know, because they wanted to go to Missions Fest. Like, were you surprised at the thousands of people who just would come through every year?
Yeah, and it's interesting finding out why they come. Why they come. Their why is fascinating, right? Like some of them would come to get a glimpse of where's the mission world at, you know, what's the temperature of the mission world. Others to learn more. Others would not come to our main plenary sessions, and they would just come to the educational events. So different people had different reasons to come, and their engagement with mission was different too. Some others they just liked. We noticed that one of the most visited pages on our website was the music, like the bands, the band page who's playing, right? So some people were drawn to the big missionary names that would be on our plenary sessions. Others would come to the big names of worship bands. Yeah.
Looking back on the conference, what for you was your fondest memory?
My fondest memory was people who were not followers of Jesus becoming followers of Jesus when they became volunteers. I just loved it when we had volunteer coordinators who, from their own social networks, would recruit volunteers, right? This is how it worked. You, from your social networks, you collect your friend, your mom, your neighbor to come and help you with the code check or with the music. So you do your own recruiting. And part of what I loved the most was in those volunteer times, some people would not feel comfortable or welcomed in a church, but if their friend would invite them to volunteer, then they would come and they would be sitting in the same table for hours with these self-proclaimed Christians, and then having these heart-to-heart conversations where they could ask, and why do you say that about non-Christians, and what do you think about this? So it was a safer space to be a Christian rebel, if you want. And then we had this one person in AV on our audiovisual team who came for years as a non-Christian, but I forget why he would come, because he put a lot of effort, like he put in many hours in the production area, audiovisual, and he became a follower of Jesus after a few years, and that meant the world for me. From a distance, I can't imagine what it meant for his friend who brought him and saw him becoming a follower of Jesus, and because he said, I see God's love here, and it may sound cliche, but he actually saw God's love, I think, gathering people in a place when most of the things now seem to scatter us. This one weekend would gather us.